Finally, I can present you my next big sculpture, Father Gascoigne, and he looks so badass. I really like him. Now this one was quite a journey, and God, it's so hot in here right now. What did I? Awesome. Let's just begin. Back when I started, I watched a lot of videos and most people were using traditional modeling. And honestly, it just wasn't for me. I'm definitely more of a sculpting person and it feels much more natural to me. Most of the time I stick to just a few basic brushes. The grab brush, crease sharp, smooth, clay strips. The mask tool is awesome because it allows you to pull or modify parts of your mesh without distorting the rest. Additionally, you can easily move that area or using it to extract clothing for your mesh. Right now he looks a little bit like Freddy Krueger, but it's perfectly fine. It's always a good idea to experiment with different meshes, not just the standard sphere. And what you can see here are the clay strips, and I really love using them. Oftentimes digital statues look a little bit too smooth in my opinion, lacking the small imperfections. And clay strips really help to replicate that classic traditional clay look. In the end it's all a matter of taste, but I prefer this aesthetic, which is why I like using them. I also enjoy simply trying things out, like I did here with the beard and the hair. Since I wasn't fully satisfied with the initial result, I watched a few videos on how to create hair in Blender and tried it myself. In the gaming industry it seems common to use the particle modifier for individual hairs, but yeah, you can see the result. And I knew I couldn't print that. Therefore I put it aside for the moment and focused on other areas. I also tried a few different versions for the hands. At first I shaped them using the snake hook brush, and then applied the inflate brush. I still wasn't happy with the result, so I started sculpting the entire hand from scratch. Yeah, that didn't look optimal either, and I was worried it might turn out too blocky when printed. So I decided to move to the next section for now. To create the base for the coat, I extracted it directly from the chest area using the mask tool. The problem with this method is that over time you end up with a large, unshaped blob. And you need a lot of adjustment to make it look clean. Nowadays I prefer using regular modeling for this step. I build a basic shape with a plain mesh and then apply a solidify modifier. This method simply yields a much better result. And now this is where digital sculpting truly shows its advantage over traditional methods. Not only can you work with much finer details, but you can also sculpt directly on the X, Y and Z axis and even mirror or duplicate your mesh. This saves a massive amount of time and keeps everything looking very clean. Especially for intricate elements that would normally require hours of tedious, repetitive work by hand, this workflow automates almost the entire process, which is fantastic, I'm not gonna lie. Next I applied some more clay strips to the coat and created separate hands. Making them separately offers the advantage that I can reuse them in future projects and they can easily be adapted to any character using Rigify while maintaining super sharp finger edges. Now this is a great example where modeling is significantly better than sculpting. For objects like this X with basic shapes and hard edges, modeling is definitely the way to go. However, as soon as the base shape is done, I switch back to sculpting. It's just way more enjoyable to me and that's what matters the most in the end. I also wasn't sure how good the runes and bandages would turn out after printing. Yeah, looking at it now, I would make them a bit thicker. In Blender, details often look deeper and more pronounced than they actually turn out in the final print. The scarf also falls into the category of how not to do things. I wanted to engrave the runes on the X-axis first and then simply use the grab brush to push the cloak into position. Naturally, this distorted the engravings a bit, but honestly it's only in the back of the statue, so it's not a major issue. Perfectly showcased for the power of Blender. It's basically just a torus, and then I used the array modifier along with a few minor adjustments. Within a few minutes I had the perfect chain that I could duplicate. And you could never achieve this level of precision by hand, and certainly not in that amount of time. And then I made a few final adjustments. A few frays on the coat, wrinkles in the clothing, and I adjusted the pose. I didn't want a dynamic pose for this character. The goal was for him to slightly turn his head and look as intimidating as possible. Sometimes less is more. And that's the finished Father Gascoigne statue. Unfortunately, I deleted the footage of making the base, or at least I can't find it anymore. But that's not a big issue, because the process was essentially identical to my upcoming Runny video, so feel free to check that out if you're interested. Alright, now onto the not so fun part. I've already mentioned in my other videos that I use super cheap acrylic paints for most of my statues. Big statues just eat up a lot of paint, and those tiny model paints, they're just way too expensive. And I was searching for a solution. But the thing is, you get what you pay for. And this is a great example. If you try to spray some of these paints through an airbrush, the nozzle constantly clogs and starts spluttering. You easily need 6 to 10 coats just to get decent coverage, and don't even get me started on the drying time. Sometimes you have to wait 5 to 8 minutes between layers. It's just exhausting and not fun. And here's another issue. The paint often looks completely different once it dries. Usually it shifts heavily to a lighter shade, but in this case the skin literally turned orange. Frustrated, I just move on to the base. I used some green and brown tones, but as you can see, barely any color actually stuck. But I wasn't happy with the surface anyway, so I chopped up some dried moss and stuck it on with wood glue. Sometimes I just experiment a bit. On the edges I did some dry brushing. It's great for fast highlights and doesn't take a lot of time. I sculpted these candles for my upcoming Runny project and thought they could be a great addition to the lantern. The first lantern that I printed was also too big, so I needed another one and used different colors on them. In the end I like the golden one better because it looks like brush brass. And after testing a lot of cheap paints, I think I finally found a solution. These are Vallejo artist paints, and although they are primarily meant for canvas, they also have extremely fine pigmentation. If you thin them down, you get great results out of them. So I mixed a few colors, especially for the skin tones, and filled them into airtight dropper bottles. I wasn't really happy with the bandages, so I decided to cover them with more blood than I originally planned. I experimented a bit and ended up going with a darker shade because it gives off that dry blood look I was aiming for. You should definitely be able to tell that he spent the night with the beasts of Yarnum. And finally I added a few highlights. All in all, I'm happy, but painting the statue took way too long again. But it's nothing compared to the time people spend on pro-level Warhammer miniatures. What these people can do it's just awesome. Go and watch a few Golden Demon videos, it's ridiculous. And to be honest, I'd love to see what Gascoigne would look like if a pro did the painting. I think in the future I'm going to build a second version of the lamp with a mini LED built in as a candle wick. It creates such an intense atmosphere. So welcome back, I hope you had fun. If you haven't played the game, just give it a shot because it's such a masterpiece. And yeah, I wish you all a great week, stay safe, stay happy, and hopefully see you next time. Oh, the next statue that's coming is Randy the Witch from Elden Ring, if you're interested in that.